Forget what you've heard. Holiday Inn isn't the only classic that owns Thanksgiving. Some of the best old Hollywood Turkey Day movies never get the spotlight, even though they've shaped how generations gather, argue, and give thanks. What if the most memorable Thanksgiving moments in film have nothing to do with Bing Crosby or dancing turkeys? Ready to revisit family chaos and old school gratitude through a dozen Golden Age gems? Stick around, you'll never watch Thanksgiving the same way again. Miracle on 34th Street, 1947. If there's a single movie that makes Thanksgiving in old Hollywood feel truly magical without ever mentioning Bing Crosby, it's Miracle on 34th Street. Let's be real, most people think of this film as a Christmas classic, but if you've ever watched the opening scenes, you know it's Thanksgiving Day in New York. The story literally kicks off at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, and you can feel the cold wind off Fifth Avenue as a slightly tipsy Santa is exposed and suddenly replaced by a mysterious, twinkle-eyed stranger, Edmund Gwenn, whose Kris Kringle is the very definition of holiday warmth. But here's the catch. This isn't just about kids hoping for presents or parents arguing about store credit. Miracle on 34th Street is a Thanksgiving movie at heart because it's about believing in something bigger than cynicism, even when the world gives you every reason not to. The first act is packed with autumn coats, city bustle, and those little reminders that for some folks, the holidays aren't all gingerbread and tinsel. They're hard, they're lonely, and sometimes you just want someone to say, "Hey, I see you." And that's what Kris Kringle does, not just for little Susan played by Natalie Wood, who delivers skepticism like a kid who's seen too much, but for every jaded New Yorker in Macy's department store. The reason this film works for Thanksgiving isn't just the parade or the turkey. It's the way families gather around the TV, right after their own chaotic meal, to watch a movie that kicks off the entire season with hope. You get the chaos of city crowds, the anxiety of making things perfect, and those small acts of kindness that stick with you through the blizzard. Miracle on 34th Street is a gentle reminder that the best holiday movies aren't always about the holidays. They're about the feeling you get when you realize you're not alone. So, if you haven't watched this one in November, try it this year. You'll be surprised how much Thanksgiving spirit is packed in between the sleigh bells. Meet Me in St. Louis, 1944. If you're tired of movies that treat Thanksgiving as just a prelude to Christmas, Meet Me in St. Louis is the Technicolor nostalgia trip you never knew you needed. Yes, Judy Garland's Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas will steal your heart come December. But this is a movie that savors every season, including the bittersweet, heart-tugging moments of Thanksgiving. Directed by Vincente Minnelli, this is one of those rare films that takes you through an entire year in a family's life, each chapter colored by a holiday, a heartbreak, or a change in the air. What makes the Thanksgiving sequence in Meet Me in St. Louis so memorable isn't just the perfectly roasted turkey or the fancy table settings. It's the sense of longing and uncertainty. The Smith family is on the verge of uprooting their beloved home for New York City, and Thanksgiving dinner turns into a battlefield of emotion. Margaret O'Brien, as little Tootie, is already plotting her resistance. Judy Garland's Esther is torn between her first real love and the possibility of leaving everything behind. Parents try to keep the peace, siblings squabble, and for a moment, nobody's sure if things will ever feel right again. This film is old Hollywood at its finest. Warm, funny, and aching, with the kind of melancholy you only get when the leaves are falling and nothing feels certain. The Thanksgiving scenes are all about togetherness, but they're also about change. The kids sense it, the parents try to ignore it, and the audience is swept up in the swirl of nostalgia and hope. The soundtrack is a time machine, and every frame looks like it could be on a vintage postcard. If you want a Thanksgiving film that's not about turkeys or football, but about the real stuff, family, change, growing up, Meet Me in St. Louis is the gold standard. And honestly, is there anything more classic than gathering around with loved ones and letting Judy Garland remind you that home is wherever your people are? Penny Serenade, 1941. If you want a Thanksgiving movie that'll hit you right in the heart and maybe make you a little misty-eyed, look no further than Penny Serenade. Starring Cary Grant and Irene Dunne, this film is the kind of old Hollywood tearjerker that sneaks up on you with its warmth. It doesn't parade around as a holiday film, but it captures exactly what Thanksgiving is about. holding your family close, counting your blessings even when life doesn't go as planned, and finding hope in unexpected places. The story unfolds in flashbacks, with every chapter of the couple's marriage marked by a song and a season, including a Thanksgiving dinner that feels almost painfully real. Grant and Dunn play Roger and Julie Adams, a couple who've weathered tragedy and disappointment, clinging to each other even as their dreams slip through their fingers. There's a scene where Thanksgiving dinner is just two people, alone, but trying their best to feel thankful. No big feast, no crowded table, just two souls sharing what little they have and daring to hope for better days. What makes Penny Serenade stand out as a classic Thanksgiving film is its honesty. It isn't about picture-perfect holidays or grand gestures. It's about finding comfort in small things, a hand to hold, a song on the radio, a fleeting moment of happiness between heartbreaks. And it's that realism, mixed with just enough Hollywood magic, that makes the film timeless. Cary Grant was even nominated for an Oscar for his performance, and it's easy to see why. He balances grief and hope in a way that feels achingly human. This is the kind of movie you watch when you want to remember why Thanksgiving isn't just about the food or the festivities. It's about gratitude in the face of adversity, about taking stock of what you have even when it isn't much, and about opening your heart to love, loss, and maybe, just maybe, a new beginning. Penny Serenade reminds us that even when the world feels cold, sharing a little warmth can change everything. The Man Who Came to Dinner, 1942. Now, if your Thanksgiving ever turns into utter chaos with surprise guests, family drama, and someone accidentally breaking a leg, just know that you're in good company. The Man Who Came to Dinner is the definitive old Hollywood comedy of Thanksgiving disaster, starring the unstoppable Monty Woolley as Sheridan Whiteside, a famous radio personality whose accidental fall in a small-town home turns a simple holiday into pure bedlam. Set right in the heart of the holidays, the story begins when Whiteside slips on ice outside the home of the well-meaning but thoroughly unprepared Stanley family. Suddenly, what should have been a quiet Thanksgiving becomes a circus. Whiteside, bedridden and demanding, commandeers the household, insults the townsfolk, and attracts a parade of eccentric visitors, including penguins and a mummy because why not? The turkey gets upstaged, the phone never stops ringing, and family secrets start leaking out faster than gravy at a broken dinner table. But beneath the one-liners and slapstick chaos, The Man Who Came to Dinner is a film about generosity, resilience, and rolling with the punches when life serves you a holiday curveball. It pokes fun at the idea of the perfect Thanksgiving, reminding us that sometimes the most memorable celebrations are the ones that go completely off the rails. The cast is a golden age dream. Bette Davis is cool and clever as Whiteside's long-suffering secretary, and Billy Burke and Jimmy Durante light up every scene they enter. What makes this movie endure as a Thanksgiving favorite isn't just its razor-sharp script or farcical energy. It's that, in the end, family and friends find ways to pull together, even when a house guest is driving everyone mad. So, if your own Thanksgiving ever spirals into chaos, just remember, sometimes laughter is the best thing to put on the table. Remember The Night 1940. There are few Thanksgiving movies as quietly moving or as criminally overlooked as Remember the Night. This little Preston Sturges scripted gem brings together Barbara Stanwyck and Fred MacMurray, two stars who could conjure magic out of the simplest premise. It's a road movie, a romance, and a holiday story rolled into one, and it finds its sweet spot in the liminal space between Thanksgiving and Christmas. But make no mistake, its most memorable, most heartfelt scenes are all about Thanksgiving. Stanwyck plays Lee Leander, a down-on-her-luck shoplifter caught just before Christmas. Her case is postponed for the holidays, and the soft-hearted prosecutor McMurray's John Sargent can't bear the thought of her spending Thanksgiving alone in jail. What does he do? He bails her out and offers her a ride to her mother's house, never suspecting how rough that reunion will be. When things don't go as planned, he brings her home to Indiana, to his own family's warm, chaotic, old-fashioned Thanksgiving. This is the kind of scene that makes classic Hollywood worth revisiting. The table is heaped with food, the fire is crackling, and you can almost smell the pumpkin pie. Stanwyck, brittle but yearning for connection, is welcomed as one of their own. McMurray's family wraps her in comfort, showing her a kind of unconditional love she's never known. There's laughter, there's a sense of belonging, and there's a bittersweet undercurrent because deep down, everyone knows this moment can't last forever. Remember, The Night works as a Thanksgiving film, not because of any grand gestures, but because it's about finding home in unlikely places. It's about second chances, about kindness given without expectation, and about gratitude for the people who walk into our lives when we least expect it. It's a film that lingers with you, gentle, a little melancholy, and as warm as a family gathering in the dead of winter. Alice Adams, 1935. No list of classic Thanksgiving movies would be complete without the awkward, unforgettable dinner from Alice Adams. Katharine Hepburn, luminous and painfully relatable, stars as Alice, a small-town girl with big dreams and a family that just can't seem to get it together. The film is a comedy of manners, a romance, and, at its heart, a coming-of-age story about longing for acceptance, nowhere more so than at the family's infamous Thanksgiving dinner. Alice is desperate to impress Arthur Russell, the wealthy young man she hopes will rescue her from small-town mediocrity. To that end, her well-meaning but clueless mother organizes a fancy dinner at their humble home, pulling out all the stops with borrowed silverware, a hired butler, and nervous, forced sophistication. What unfolds is one of the most cringe-inducing and endearing Thanksgiving meals ever put on screen. The butler is a disaster, the food is all wrong, and every attempt at high society falls hilariously flat. Yet, beneath the social embarrassment and comic mishaps, Alice Adams captures something heartbreakingly real about Thanksgiving. The holiday magnifies our insecurities and hopes, turning the dinner table into a stage where we all want to be seen at our best. For Alice and her family, the meal isn't just about food, it's about dignity, about belonging, about yearning for a better place in the world. And it's about the love that binds them together, even when everything falls apart. Hepburn's performance is all nerves and wide-eyed optimism. You root for her even as you wince at every misstep. The film gently mocks the pretensions of its characters, but never their dreams. By the end, what remains is a sense of hope and forgiveness, the real spirit of Thanksgiving. Alice Adams is an ode to imperfect families everywhere, reminding us that the best memories are often born from the most disastrous dinners. The Big Parade, 1925. Now, you might not see The Big Parade on most Thanksgiving movie lists, but if you've ever tuned into Turner Classic Movies in late November, you know why it belongs here. This silent-era masterpiece isn't a turkey and pie film, but its spirit of homecoming, longing, and the aching beauty of reunion make it a perfect watch for the Thanksgiving season. Directed by King Vidor and starring John Gilbert, the film follows Jim Apperson, a young American who leaves his comfortable life to fight in World War I and discovers what truly matters far from home. There's no literal Thanksgiving dinner in The Big Parade, but every frame is haunted by the idea of home, of mothers setting tables, of families waiting for the knock at the door, of the hope that, one day, everyone you love will return. The film's most emotional scenes aren't the battlefield heroics, but the quiet moments when soldiers think about the simple things they left behind. Laughter, warmth, a familiar chair by the fire. That longing, that bone-deep gratitude for ordinary life, is what Thanksgiving is all about. In the movie's final act, when Jim limps home after the war, the reunion with his family is a silent explosion of feeling. No words are needed. The love is written on their faces and in the way they reach for him, as if to make sure he's real. If you've ever had someone return home for the holidays after being away, whether from war, work, or just life's rough edges, you'll recognize the raw, grateful emotion that The Big Parade captures so perfectly. Watching this film on Thanksgiving is like opening an old family photo album full of nostalgia, sorrow, and hope. It reminds us to cherish the people around our table, to remember those who can't make it home, and to never take the ordinary for granted. So, if you want a classic that embodies the spirit of Thanksgiving without a single slice of pumpkin pie, The Big Parade is the one. Life with Father, 1947. Step into a bustling late 19th century New York household, and you'll find Life with Father, a classic that delivers family squabbles, laughter, and warmth in heaping holiday-sized portions. Based on the beloved stories of Clarence Day, this film stars William Powell as the bombastic, lovable patriarch who rules his red brick home with bluster and bewilderment. The Vance family is large, loud, and, above all, devoted to each other, making this a perfect watch for anyone whose own Thanksgiving dinner gets a little spirited. The movie isn't pinned to Thanksgiving by plot, but it radiates the very essence of the holiday: crowded tables, bickering siblings, a mother, the always luminous Irene Dunn, juggling chaos and care, and a father who insists on his own way, until he's charmed into submission by the love that binds his family. There's food, laughter, misunderstandings, and the kind of loving mayhem that turns every meal into an event. Powell's comedic timing is flawless, delivering declarations about household order and money with the pomp of a general, while Dunn brings both steel and sweetness to her role as the peacemaker. What makes Life with Father a Thanksgiving classic isn't just the setting, it's the spirit. Every scene pulses with gratitude for the simple joys of home: a bustling kitchen, a familiar chair, the reassuring predictability of family ritual. It's about cherishing your clan, even when they drive you crazy, and about finding humor in the chaos that holidays so often bring. If you're looking for a film to remind you why you endure all the noise and nonsense of a big family get-together, this is it. Life with Father is a warm embrace from old Hollywood. Funny, gentle, and overflowing with the kind of timeless love that makes every Thanksgiving worth remembering. She Married Her Boss, 1935. If you think Thanksgiving dinners can't get any more awkward, let She Married Her Boss prove you wrong. This screwball comedy, starring Claudette Colbert and Melvyn Douglas, isn't billed as a Thanksgiving movie, but its legendary holiday dinner scene secures its place among old Hollywood's best for the season. The setup: Julia Scott, a whip-smart secretary, marries her clueless workaholic boss, and soon finds herself head chef and referee at a family gathering that's one part business meeting, two parts disaster. The Thanksgiving scene is a masterclass in comic timing and domestic chaos. Julia, desperate to impress her new in-laws, orchestrates an elaborate dinner, complete with all the trimmings. But, as in real life, nothing goes as planned. Kitchen mishaps abound, nerves fray, and the tension in the air is as thick as the gravy. Relatives snipe and squabble, the turkey is nearly forgotten, and business talk keeps interrupting the warm and fuzzy atmosphere Julia is so desperate to create. It's a moment that will hit home for anyone who's ever tried to engineer the perfect Thanksgiving, only to watch it unravel in real time. What She Married Her Boss nails so brilliantly is the way holidays magnify our desire to belong, to prove we can measure up, that our new family will accept us, that we can handle the traditions passed down for generations. Colbert's comic flair keeps the mood buoyant, and Douglas's understated exasperation is the perfect counterbalance. By the end of the scene, what's left isn't a perfect meal, but the messy, noisy, irreplaceable feeling of family. Through the laughter and mishaps, the movie reminds us that Thanksgiving isn't about impressing anyone or delivering a flawless feast. It's about being together, missteps and all. If you're craving a vintage comedy that feels uncomfortably familiar and warmly reassuring, cue this one up. You'll never look at your own Thanksgiving chaos quite the same way again. A Tree Grows in Brooklyn, 1945. For a Thanksgiving film that will tug at your heartstrings and linger long after the credits roll, A Tree Grows in Brooklyn is an absolute classic. Based on Betty Smith's cherished novel, this drama is set in the working-class tenements of early 20th century Brooklyn, where the Nolan family scrapes by with more love than money. Thanksgiving isn't just a background event here. It's a rare, treasured occasion that showcases both the hardship and resilience that defined so many real families during the era. Peggy Ann Garner stars as Francie Nolan, a bright and imaginative young girl whose optimism is as unbreakable as the little tree that grows outside her window. Her mother, Katie, works tirelessly to keep the family afloat, while her charming, unreliable father, James Dunn, in an Oscar-winning role, provides dreams and hope, if not always stability. When Thanksgiving arrives, the Nolans pull together what they can for a meal: a humble turkey, simple fixings, and, most importantly, each other. The Thanksgiving dinner in A Tree Grows in Brooklyn isn't grand or overflowing. It's a reminder of how gratitude is often born from scarcity. The family's joy is not in what they have, but in who they are to one another. The warmth of the scene, the gentle humor, and the quiet moments of hope elevate it to something universal. Even if your own Thanksgiving looks different, the longing for connection, tradition, and just a little bit of magic is something anyone can understand. This film is a love letter to family perseverance, to making do, and to celebrating the everyday victories that sustain us through tough times. Watching it on Thanksgiving is like opening your door to generations past, inviting them to share the meal and the hope that tomorrow might be brighter. For a true old Hollywood Thanksgiving, A Tree Grows in Brooklyn delivers heart, nostalgia, and the kind of gratitude that endures through any season. The Grapes of Wrath, 1940. When it comes to films about gratitude against all odds, The Grapes of Wrath stands in a league of its own. Based on John Steinbeck's Pulitzer-winning novel, this John Ford-directed classic follows the Joad family as they travel from the dust-choked plains of Oklahoma to the uncertain promise of California. Thanksgiving may not be the centerpiece of this story, but its spirit, endurance, family, and finding grace amid hardship run through every frame. If you want a film that reminds you what it truly means to give thanks, look no further. Henry Fonda gives a career-defining performance as Tom Joad, the tough, tender-hearted son who tries to hold his family together as they lose their farm and face unthinkable adversity on the road. There's a quiet, devastating power in the film's holiday scenes. The family gathers to share what little food they have, sometimes nothing more than a pot of beans. Yet the act of coming together to break bread, however modest, feels almost sacred. It's a Thanksgiving stripped down to its bones, not about bounty, but about solidarity and hope. What sets The Grapes of Wrath apart as a Thanksgiving film is its focus on the real meaning of the holiday. In a world where comfort is scarce, the Joads' gratitude is for each other, the hands held around a table, the stories shared, and the courage to keep moving forward. It's a deeply American story, full of longing and perseverance, reminding viewers that thankfulness isn't about abundance, but about survival, dignity, and the kindness that glimmers even in the bleakest times. Watching this film as the days grow shorter and colder is a humbling experience. It asks us to count our blessings, however small, and to recognize the quiet heroism in simply gathering together. The Grapes of Wrath is not just an old Hollywood classic. It's a timeless meditation on what it means to be grateful when the world offers little but each other. You Can't Take It With You, 1938. If there's a movie that embodies the spirit of gathering, gratitude, and glorious chaos, it's Frank Capra's You Can't Take It With You. Set in Depression-era New York, this Oscar-winning comedy throws together two wildly mismatched families for a dinner that's every bit as unpredictable as Thanksgiving itself. James Stewart is the earnest scion of a stuffy, wealthy family, and Jan Arthur is the warm-hearted daughter of the eccentric Sycamore clan, a household where fireworks, pet snakes, and impromptu ballet routines are just another day at the table. The film's most famous meal isn't technically a Thanksgiving dinner, but it may as well be relatives you barely know, awkward introductions, and the looming threat of disaster hover over the scene. The Sycamore home, bursting with joy and creative mayhem, is the ultimate reminder that family is about who shows up, not who matches your table settings. There's laughter, misunderstandings, heartfelt toasts, and enough warmth to melt even the iciest heart. Frank Capra's direction is as generous as a Thanksgiving host, serving up slapstick and sentiment in equal measure. The underlying message, money and status, mean nothing without love and connection, lands especially well as families across America gather, bicker, and, ultimately, forgive each other over turkey and pie. Stewart and Arthur's romance, tested by social differences and family quirks, reflects the holiday's power to unite even the most unlikely guests. Watching You Can't Take It With You on Thanksgiving is like opening your door to the unexpected and finding the true meaning of home in the chaos. If your own family gatherings feel a little unhinged, this film is a loving reminder. That's exactly what makes them unforgettable. So, who needs Holiday Inn when old Hollywood left us with this rich banquet of Thanksgiving treasures? Maybe it's time to start a new tradition, one filled with laughter, chaos, and the kind of gratitude you won't find in any perfect movie dinner. Which of these classics will you put on your Thanksgiving table this year? Drop your favorites or your family's wildest holiday stories in the comments. After all, what's your personal definition of a truly unforgettable Thanksgiving?